I learned a lot from him. He had it tough growing up. His father worked in shipyards and died of complications from mesothelioma he was regularly exposed to. Asbestos till his father passed away. His baby sister Beverly stayed at home to care for their mother until she died from stomach cancer about a year ago. I'd known Bev for a long time. She was a no-nonsense girl who was gorgeous and resembled the girl next door. Of course, I never made a move on her, partly because of Dave's closeness with both me and my father, but largely because I was already in love with Lucy. Bev and I got along great, and we were more like siblings than anything. They're teasing each other about this and that. I hadn't seen her in a while and was curious to see how she was today. Dave, like myself, married young but got divorced when he returned home to find his wife with one of her coworkers. He has never remarried, but he does occasionally go out. The majority of his time is spent looking after Beverly, who now lives with him. Beverly, of course, would claim to be looking out for him. I pulled up in front of Dave's two-story log house around 2:30 a.m., got my belongings in the icebox, and greeted Dave on the porch. "I hope you have some beer in there for us," he said with a smile. After accepting the pack of cigarettes I provided him, he opened the door and assisted me in moving the rest of my belongings inside. As I brought the ice chest into the kitchen, I noticed a stunning blonde walking down the stairs, dressed in a large t-shirt and short pajamas. "Who is this blonde bombshell?" I questioned Dave. He gave a laugh. "You recognize who I am, numbnuts," the blonde said. I took a second look and realized it was Beverly. She didn't resemble the gangly teen girl I remembered. Her legs seemed well-toned, her breasts had grown somewhat larger, and her hair had nearly reached the middle of her back. "Beverly?" I inquired, confused. "Is it truly you?" "You already know what it is," she said cynically. "Why are you arriving so early in the morning? Lucy discovered you cheating on her and kicked you out or something?" "No, not quite," I spoke in a sharp tone. Her best face softened as she drew me close. "Stan, I apologize," she replied, staring at my injured face. "What exactly happened? Are you all right?" "Not exactly, that is why I'm here." "Why don't you get a beer and come explain to us?" Dave spoke. I nodded, grabbed 3 drinks, and went into the front room. I handed one to Dave and then turned to face Beverly. "Are you certain you're old enough to drink?" I asked cynically. She laughed as she raised a middle finger and took a beer from my hands. "Please spill it." "What's up with you two?" "It's quite embarrassing," I remarked. "So, we're adults, and we're really close to family, so get it done, okay?" I said before telling them the entire narrative of Lucy, Marie, and Jake. I showed them the video I recorded of my brief meeting with Holly. When I finished, they sat in stunned silence. "Damn," Dave remarked after taking a sip of his beer. "Do you suppose they know where you are?" "I don't believe so. I saw no cars anyway." "Follow me here." Fortunately, we are on this hill and can see anyone heading up here, and I still have the pistols I purchased from your father after Mikey's accident. "Do you still remember how to shoot?" I just nodded my head. "Yeah, but I haven't touched a gun since then," I spoke. My younger brother, Michael, or Mikey as everyone knew him, inadvertently shot himself in the leg with my father's point-and-shoot pistol years ago. Mikey merely sustained a small flesh wound and made a full recovery, but my father felt so awful about it that he got rid of all his guns and never bought them again. "That's okay. I'll take you all back and let you become acquainted with them. This can also apply to you. She's developed into a capable shooter." I looked at Beverly, shocked. She sat up and smiled wickedly. "Does your father realize you're up here?" "They've asked me." I shook my head. "I haven't told anyone where I am. However, I need to inform the assistant DA. You must remember I didn't think of coming up here until I was already gone." "Okay, I'll phone your folks and notify them this morning after the sun rises. If possible, avoid using your cell phone. In fact, you should turn off your phone and remove the battery just in case there is a tracker on it." "This is a good idea," I said, turning off my phone. I took the back off and removed the battery. So, Lucy and her companions are appearing before the judge on Monday, Beverly inquired. Yes, the arraignment is scheduled for Monday. The DA is hoping that the judge holds them without bail, but after hearing what Holly said, I'm not sure that will happen. You're welcome to stay for as long as you need. I have a job starting a week from Monday, and I'll be gone for a week. But if you need to stay, that's cool. How much time are you going to take off? I had planned for 2 weeks. I hope this is resolved by then. As previously said, you are free to leave. Dave spoke. Thanks, that is something I really appreciate. Please let me know if there is anything I can do to help. Dave gave Beverly a smile. I'm sure Beth has a few ideas, but you're a guest here, and your parents have always treated us like royalty. So, you may relax and take in the fresh country air, so far as I am concerned. Well, gentlemen, this has been fun, but I have to get up and make breakfast in a few hours, Beverly stated, standing up. I hope you enjoy omelets and hash browns because that is what I am preparing, she added, glancing at me. Breakfast for champions sounds good to me, she waved before heading upstairs. Dave and I went out back to smoke cigarettes and talk when I heard her bedroom door close. What's the story with her anyway? I inquired. I assumed she'd be married and have children by now. She never met anyone she genuinely cared. She dated a couple of men, but she said they didn't measure up. What are you measuring up to? I inquired. He gazed at me with seriousness. Do you have numbnuts? She has always had a huge crush on you, he said, astonished. Absolutely not. The only reason she didn't tell you was Lucy. She did not want to be the reason you two split up. Are you really serious? He described it as a heart attack. Why do you believe she still likes me? I inquired. I've heard her cry out your name more than once. That's a little too much information, I said. Dave smiled and took a sip from his beer. So it is what it is. So, Beverly, when did you transform into a babe? I have always been a beautiful girl. She never flaunted it. Besides, you had only eyes for Lucy, right? Yeah, I do. Look, I'd be fine with you two getting together. Just do me a favor, please. What's that? Please don't shatter her heart. I adore my sister, and I believe you do too. If you think about it, I really don't want her to get her hopes up then watch you and Lucy reunite. That would ruin her. I shook my head. I'm finished with Lucy. That's okay. Well, I should go to bed, said Dave. We'll see you later this morning. He got up and grounded out his cigarette in the can. He had said everything and went upstairs. When there was a bet, I finished my cigarette. I fell asleep the moment my head hit the pillow just a few minutes later. I awoke later when Beverly opened the door and called at me to get up. I shined and wiped the sleep from my eyes, and I noted the time was 8:30. I walked into the bathroom to do my morning routine, then took a fast shower, dressed, and headed downstairs. As I dressed, I looked at the ring on my finger and removed it, tossing it on the dresser. When I came downstairs, I noticed Beverly in the kitchen preparing breakfast. Her outfit consisted of a short t-shirt and cut-off shorts. Her long hair was pulled back into a ponytail, and her blonde bangs fell across her brow. She was a vision of loveliness, and I wondered why I hadn't seen it before. That smells nice, I spoke. She gave a smile. I'm delighted you think so, cowboy. If you want some coffee, it's already made. You still enjoy Southern butter pecan creamer, right? Yes, I do. Did you get any? Yeah, it's inside the refrigerator. Please help yourself, just keep some for Dave and myself. I made a cup of coffee and added creamer. Southern butter pecan is one of my favorite flavors. Dave got hooked on marijuana after my father brought some onto a job site, she smiled and said, go ahead and have a seat. I'll get it finished in a minute. I took a seat at the table where Dave was already sitting, reading the Sunday paper. Morning, I said. He examined me over the paper. Morning, he responded. Is there anything intriguing happening in the news? Yeah, a story in the paper about a fancy lawyer being arrested for a variety of offenses. Take a look, he said, handing me the article. The story made no mention of individuals and provided few specifics. It was mostly boilerplate news that no one would understand. I did not know the complete story. I grunted and returned the paper. They had finished cooking breakfast and were bringing it to the table on a trolley. This is very excellent, I spoke as I took a large bite. Beverly smiled as she said, Thank you, sir. I'm pleased you agree. We completed breakfast, and Dave rose up after cleaning his plate. I need to go into town and get some items. I'll be gone for at least a couple of hours. If you need to contact me, you can use your home phone. Thank you, I replied. Beverly handed him a list of what she required, and he tucked it into his pocket. He grabbed his keys and walked out. I looked across at Beverly. Do you need some assistance with the dishes? I inquired. I don't necessarily need it, but it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for your question, she replied. I got up and assisted her in clearing the table. She tossed me a towel and started doing the dishes. Everything is already in the sink, I noticed. You're not wearing your ring. Will you actually divorce her? Yeah, I told her. I would not tolerate infidelity, and I meant it. Good, she replied with a small smile. I'm delighted to see you still have some balls. What's the story? How are things going with you? She simply shrugged her shoulders. Okay, I guess. Is there somebody special in your life now? I inquired. There was once, but he had already been taken. Furthermore, I would not have been able to pursue a relationship anyway. I'm too busy taking care of my folks. That was what I heard. Yeah, that had to be done. Following Dad's death, Mom required my assistance to supplement my income. I worked as a waiter. She only had Dad's 401k and some Social Security. I worked till she was too unwell to do anything, then I stayed at home and cared for her full time. Sorry to hear that. Don't be. I have no regrets about remaining home with her. I only hope that when I'm her age, someone will be around to help me. So what occurred? I inquired. There was little left after Mom's death. We had to sell the house and a lot of her belongings. We were able to pay off all of her final costs with the remainder of Dad's pension and 401k. There was a little left over, and Dave let me have it because I took care of her. He promised Mom that he'd let me stay with him, and this is where I have been ever since. Dave offered to pay for my college education, but I refused him. Why? I inquired. I do not want to be obligated to anyone. I want to make it on my own if I am able to. So I stay here and work at the local McDonald's. I earn enough to afford my expenditures, and I'm taking a couple business classes at night. Good on you, I said. Yeah, Dave has this notion to start his own fabrication firm, and he discussed having me do the accounting and such, she added. He's still talking about it. Yeah, he does a lot of one-of-a-kind stuff for people around here, custom barbecue grills, trailers, and other such items. It pays rather well. His dream is to stay at home and operate from his backyard shop. Perhaps he'll show it to you while you are here. It would be nice. We were silent, and I discovered myself admiring her for the first time. I noticed how stunning she truly was, and not just from the exterior. She gave me a glance before speaking. What exactly are you looking at? She inquired. I believe I'm looking at the most stunning woman I've ever met, I told her. I believe I saw its form in her eye. Stop teasing me, she replied gently, looking down. I am not. I cannot help but admire you. You have put your own life on wait for your parents. You declined Dave's offer to send you through college, and you're making your own way through school. I'm sorry I didn't notice it sooner. Well, Lucy blinded you, so I can't really hold it against you, she explained. Yeah, I suppose you're correct. After washing all of the dishes, she drained the water in the sink, dried her hands, and turned to me. "You're used to her, you know," Beth explained. "I guess you're correct." "Of course, I am right. I saw it 3 years ago." "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked. "You wouldn't have believed me." I recognized she was probably correct. In your opinion, she could not possibly do anything wrong. She had you wrapped around her little finger, and you would have done anything for her. All I wanted was to keep her happy, and look where that led you. She received her degree, a new automobile, and a plethora of jewels, trinkets, and outfits, all on your dime. Then when she no longer needed you, she traded you in for a new model. I'm delighted she is in jail because if she were here right now, I'd tear her a new hole. I think you would. I only want to know one thing, she spoke, her hands on her hips. What is that? I asked. Will you fall for her tears and take her back? She asked. I shook my head. No, I replied. That ship departed after Friday. That is not going to happen. Good, she replied. And if you have a second, remember this. She removed her t-shirt and dropped it on the floor, presenting herself to me for the first time. She stripped, walked up to me, and wrapped her arms around me, giving me the deepest tongue kiss I'd ever had. We made love. I love you, Stan Shipman. I have always adored you. Never forget that. I will be your woman for as long as you want me, Beverly said. I adore you too. I want to stay like this for the rest of my life. That sounds wonderful, but I don't believe my brother will appreciate it, she joked. I chuckled and kissed her hard. Then it struck me. I stared at her with concern. I just remembered I hadn't used any protection. Don't worry about it, I'm on medication. Besides, I wouldn't mind if you made me pregnant. I would love to have your children. I will hold you to that. We'd better get cleaned up before Dave returns. I need to lay out the meat for tonight. Why don't you get up and take a quick shower? Okay, I'll be up in a moment. Okay, what's with the meat? We enjoy barbecuing on Sundays, weather permitting. You enjoy venison, don't you? Yeah, I enjoy venison, but it's been years since I got a nice shot at it with Dave's .50 caliber flintlock. I even dressed it in the field using my own 2 hands. My, you were quite a gal, the rugged outdoors kind. I'm really amazed. I'd seen Dave's flintlock and knew it needed to be at least 49 inches long. Did you load it yourself? Of course, patched round ball containing 100 grains of double F powder, even more than the bullet itself. Damn. Do you enjoy fishing as well? She smiled. I like to go fishing. I even bait my own hooks and clean the fish. Is there anything you haven't completed? I asked cynically. I have not yet rebuilt Dave's truck's transmission. I did, however, assist him in rebuilding his engine. I'm definitely in love, I told her and kissed her. She kissed me back. Now hurry, run upstairs for a quick shower. I'll be up in a moment. I went up and jumped into the shower. A few minutes later, Beverly joined me. Just wait until nighttime when we go to bed. By the way, you'll be sleeping with me from now on. My bed is much bigger than the one in your room. Won't Dave be upset? I asked. Nope, besides, we are both consenting adults. After our shower, we dressed and returned downstairs. I need to contact the DA and let her know where I am, I said. Jeff pointed to a wireless phone resting in its cradle. Go ahead and use the phone. I took up the phone and called, almost forgetting it was long distance. Linda answered the phone after the second ring. Linda Calloway, she mentioned. Linda, this is Stan Shipman. I simply called to let you know where I am. Stan, thank goodness you phoned. I was starting to worry. I see you're phoning long distance. Where are you now? I am with a longtime family friend. I turned off my cell phone to be safe. Okay, I will keep you updated as much as possible. I've already heard from the feds. It appears that they are investigating the firm your wife works for. Someone, by the way, I took the liberty of speaking with an old buddy of mine who happens to be the best darn divorce lawyer in town. I hope you do not mind. No, I do not. Good. She expects to hear from you tomorrow. I told her a little about your circumstances. She is capable of dealing with this situation. Thanks, I will do that. Linda gave me the information I needed and promised to let me know how the arraignment went before we concluded the call. Dave had returned by this point, so I walked out to assist him in carrying his belongings. By the way, he stated when we finished, I called your parents. They were quite concerned about you. I informed them that you were staying with us for a time. Thanks. That night we barbecued the meat and ate dinner on their balcony. After supper, we all joined in to clean up. Dave and I got a beer and went outside for a smoke while Beverly finished up. Bev, tell me, you'll be sleeping in her room, Dave stated. Is this going to be a permanent situation? I was a little uneasy discussing this with him. She was his sister, after all. I believe so. What do you think? Yes, it is. I just need to finalize my divorce. Do you love her? He asked. Yes, I do. Good, it's about time you get your head out of your buttocks, he said with a smile. Look, there is a big female who can make her own judgments. She can certainly take care of herself. I just don't want her to be wounded, that's all. I never harmed her. I am delighted to hear that. Welcome to the family, he said, offering his hand. I accepted, and we exchanged warm handshakes. Please don't keep me up all night, okay? I laughed and nodded my head. I will do my best. That night when Bev and I made love in her bed, I hugged her close to me and imagined our future together. I felt more content than I have in a long time. What are you thinking about? She inquired quietly. What about the future? She asked. Yeah, I mean, what do you want from life? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years? I know it's common for women today to desire to burst through the glass ceiling and reach for the brass rings, she explained, but I am not like that. I am not seeking a job or anything like that. All I want is a devoted husband who loves me as much as I love him and a family to care for. That is all. How about your courses? That is primarily for Dave's benefit. When he gets his business started, he's going to require help. How about you? What do you desire from life? I guess I am a lot like you. Here's your corrected text with errors and punctuation adjusted. I want is a devoted wife who loves me as much as I adore her. In addition, I have my own family. I believed I had it with Lucy, but it did not work out. How about your job? She asked. I enjoy what I do for a living, however, it can take me away for a few weeks at a time. Can you handle that? She laughed. Please, my brother is a welder just as you recall. I understand what to expect. I can deal with it as long as I know you'll come home to me. I glanced at her for a few moments before speaking. I wish I'd met you before meeting Lucy, I added. I agree, but whatever is done is done. We'll make it through this together, okay? We're a team and we can accomplish anything as long as we're together. I will always be here for you, no matter what. I love you so much, I replied, kissing her. I love you more, she stated, wrapping her arm around me. I fell asleep feeling truly loved for the first time in years. The next day, Beverly awoke before the rest of us. After breakfast, she dashed upstairs to prepare for work. She kissed me on her way out, telling me she had classes the night after her shift. I generally get home by 9:30, so you'll have to fend for yourselves. Remember, regardless of what occurs, I love you and I am here for you. I adore you too, I replied, reciprocating her kiss. She had no idea how much it meant to hear herself say that. What, don't I receive a kiss too? He added, smiling. Beverly chuckled and gave him a sisterly kiss on the cheek. You too, try to avoid trouble, okay? She asked as she left. I should speak with the divorce attorney, Linda suggested. I spoke while glancing at the time. A pleasant female voice on the other end of the call said they had motioned to the phone, so I picked it up and dialed the law firm of Bernice Goodwin. I told the receptionist that Bernice was expecting my call, introduced myself, and asked if she was available. The woman said, "Sir, Miss Goodwin is anticipating your call." I heard some music on the phone for a short while before another woman answered. "Just a moment, please." "Bernice Goodwin," said the woman. "How may I support you?" "It's Stan Shipman here." "Sure, Mr. Shipman. Linda Calloway gave me your number and instructed me to call you this morning. Part of what is happening was told to me by Linda, and I have been waiting for your call. I know it's not possible this time, but normally I would prefer to meet in person." "That's okay. Most of this can be done online these days." I spent some time explaining the situation, and she listened patiently. "Please give me your complete story. What do you hope to achieve?" When I was done, she inquired. "I want as much as possible, at least my share of our assets, no alimony. I think we can succeed. The criminal charges against your wife should help your case. However, I must view your financial records. Do you own a home or any other type of property?" I clarified, "No, we live in an apartment." "How about pursuing legal action against Marie Jake?" Alienation of affection lawsuits are allowed in the state, but I must admit that they don't always succeed. You ought to file a lawsuit for intentional infliction of emotional distress. "Do what you think is right," I answered. "All right, let me look into this more thoroughly and get things going. Do you own an email account?" "Yes, I do." "All right, I'll email you some paperwork. I need you to electronically sign and return one of these contracts. The other is an inventory of things that need to be done. Kindly see to that for me. You will also need to pay a retainer to me. Is it possible for you to complete this today?" "Yes, that's correct." "When everything is ready, I'll have the paper served," she said, arranging for the items to be sent to you. "Have any inquiries been made thus far?" "There are no questions," I said, giving her my email address before she handed me off to her assistant, who took my credit card details and let me hang up. After switching on my laptop, I opened my email. It turned out that Bernice had actually sent 2 attachments in her email. To make sure she got the contract, I opened it, electronically signed it, and sent it back with a receipt. A pamphlet explaining how I could safeguard my finances was also present. We are grateful for internet banking. I was able to open a new account for myself, transfer half of our money, and check into it, though I knew it would take some time. Lucy's credit card was paid off and canceled, but I kept mine open since I had just paid my retainer on it. By the time I was done, it was early afternoon, so Dave drove me to the shop to work on a trailer that belonged to a farmer in the area. I spent some time working with him and found it to be a calming way to pass the time. That afternoon at 3 o'clock, we got a call. Dave handed me the receiver after taking my call through his shop's extension. "That's your lawyer," I said, grabbing the receiver. "My name is Stan. This is Linda Calloway." "Hello, Stan. The news is not good. The judge set the shortest bail amount possible for each of them and then released them." "How is it possible? May I ask?" I said. "He's definitely paid by them. Thankfully, the protective order is in force, but the strength of its implementation depends on the document itself, I fear. Best to stay where you are. Stay away from the town." "Terrific," I said. "The feds are watching them for now, but I cannot guarantee your safety." "What then ought we do? You remain in the same location." "I'll exert every effort. I have my phone here. Please give me a call if you need anything." "Yeah, okay," I replied. After we cut the connection, I gave the receiver to Dave, who asked, "Bad news?" "Yes, the judge did release them." "Oh no, I should call your family and tell them." "It sounds like a really great idea." Dave nodded and handed the receiver back to me. "I should probably be the one who tells them," he said. Dad, this is Stan, I said to my father when I called the number and he answered on the second ring. Hey, how are you doing? He inquired. I'm managing. All I wanted to tell you was that Lucy and her friends were released by the judge. I've heard that they might pay you a visit to see where I am, so be alert. Son, don't worry. We have nothing to disclose to them. Are you still hanging out with John Harrison? The question surprised me because I knew where I was already. My father and I used to work for a retired foreman named John Harrison. He and his wife moved about 2 hours south of town after retirement. Then it dawned on me that Lucy and her friends would definitely be looking for me right now, so I decided to play along and said, I'm at a motel about 50 miles south of there. All right, provided you're all right. I'm all right. But I'm going to leave here in the morning. I'm going east. Would you kindly let me know where you are, son? He inquired. Yes, without a doubt. Can I talk to Mom? My father said, she's currently occupied in the bathroom. I thought I heard something in the distance, so I listened carefully. Okay, tell her I'm okay and I love her. I will, son, my father said, sounding tense and meek. I'll talk to you soon, okay? All right, Dad, we'll do. I cherish you. I love you too, son, he said before the call ended, and I looked at Dave before picking up the phone again. Stan, what's going on? As she picked up the phone, Linda remarked. I believe Lucy and her friends are at my parents' place, I informed her. All right, I'll grab a few federal agents and go over there immediately. We ended the call, and I gave Dave his phone back. Stay put. What is going on? He inquired. I believe Lucy and her friends are at my parents' house, trying to figure out where I am, I responded. Yes, I did hear what you said to your dad. Do you believe they'll purchase the home? Hopefully, for a few hours at the very least. I knew that if they continued south to John's house, we would only have about 6 or 8 hours left. Perhaps I should head outside and find a place to hide until this passes. No, we're on the same team. You remain where you are. Before I go into town to talk to the sheriff, let me clean up. Do you hear me when I say to stay put? I gave a head nod. After he left the house a few hours later and headed into town, Linda called back and said, Stan, you were right. After the hearing, Lucy, Marie, Jake, and a few of their goons went there. They intimidated and restrained the members of your family. They said they didn't reveal your location. Right now, we have an APB out for them. He is being held under arrest. They left one of their guns here. He's obviously not speaking. Are you aware of their destination? May I ask? She inquired. No, I don't, but I think they didn't accept your account in this instance. Consult your father. Stan, I do not believe they bought the ruse, my father said over the phone a few seconds later. Are you all okay? I inquired. Yeah, we're fine now, but I believe Lucy and her companions are on their way to you, he said. What leads you to think that? I inquired. I heard what Lucy was saying. All right, notify Linda so that the sheriff can be contacted. Son, we'll make it work. Here, be careful, my dad remarked. I answered the phone, identifying Linda as the next voice. I will, Dad. Where exactly are you? I gave her directions and told her where I was. Do you think Lou is aware of its location? May I ask? She inquired. She is aware. Okay, you stay where you are. We got into the car and headed back home when I heard Jake's voice. I couldn't help but recognize him as soon as I walked out of the shop. Well, did you really think you could fool us? You made a good attempt when you told your family you were going north when you were actually heading south. Lucy knew where you were going, which was fortunate for us. He said, swinging his weapon at me. Now move. As I reached the back, I saw Lucy grinning at me. Get in, he replied, gesturing to a black SUV. Did we really believe you could outsmart us? Lucy, this is not going to end well for you, she asked with a sly grin. Whatever occurs, the police will show up shortly. For you, it will be too late. It would have been better if you had just followed the program. Jake told the goon to drive down to a location along the creek bed at the bottom of the hill, and when we got there, he opened my door and motioned for me to come out with his gun. Marie and Jake laughed at that. So you were planning to kill me? Is that all there is? Lucy asked. Once the goon finished zip-tying my arms behind my back, Jake and Marie laughed. You know what they say, she said, laughing. That dead men tell no tales. First things first, he made me get on my knees. I've always wanted to have sex outside, so how about that, Lucy? Are you ready to give your soon-to-be-deceased husband one last show? Something to send him out with? What the hell, she said, taking off her clothes. Come here and do me, baby, Jake laughed, pulling down his pants. Just think, Stan, Jake will be doing me every day while your corpse is rotting in the creek. I'm going to love wasting your money and playing the heartbroken widow, she said, extending her legs. Enjoy it, he whispered, if it will be the last thing you see. I turned away, refusing to watch Lucy and Jake run around like animals on the ground, and secretly hoping that they would be eaten by chiggers. After about 30 minutes, Jake was done. He stood up and put his pants back on after catching his breath. I told you, Lucy was expanding her horizons, Marie said. You might as well enjoy the performance, it will be the last time you ever see your wife. I turned to face Lucy. Why? Why did you do this? I asked her. What should I say? She shrugged her shoulders. He's bigger than you and richer than you, she asked rhetorically. In addition, I have no desire to spend the rest of my life married to a welder. Jake can give me the kind of life I want. Have you two finished sharing memories? Emotional toward the thug who forced me to bend forward, Jake inquired. We have business to attend to, and it's getting late. Jake went to the SUV and came back carrying a big blade. I'm sure you know what will happen next, old friend. I've been told that death happens almost instantly, so don't worry, you won't feel anything. I closed my eyes and prayed in silence. I saw Jake's shadow and realized he had raised the sword above his head. Then I heard it, a rifle shot. I watched as Jake's body fell to the ground with a bullet wound on his forehead. His eyes were open, but I knew he was dead. Another shot rang out, and the gun fell as well, with blood flowing from his chest. Marie tried to seize Jake's gun, but another shot struck her, injuring her shoulder. Lucy fled in fear, trying to hide behind Jake. I recognized the sound of a four-wheeler in the background, so I tried to identify who it was, but all I saw was a cloud of dust. Then it was upon us, and I saw the long blonde hair streaming behind the driver, Beverly, whom I knew. She stopped and leaped from the vehicle, brandishing a skull-hunting gun, and she cut the zip tie holding my hands together with a large knife from her belt. After she freed me, I sat up and watched her run up to Lucy, hitting her hard across the face with the buttstock of her rifle, knocking her flat on her back. Beverly bellowed, "Are you understanding me?" We heard sirens in the distance, so Beverly approached the four-wheeler and pulled out a flare gun, pointing it toward the sky and shooting a flare to alert the cops to her location. Yes, Lucy nodded slowly. Beverly then dropped the buttstock on her kneecap like thunder. I heard a crack. Lucy shouted in pain. "How are you doing, my love?" "I am now," she asked as she walked up to me. "My life is saved by you. I promise I'll never be able to repay you for this," she smiled back. "You have the rest of your life to make amends to me," she said. Before long, we were surrounded by police cars. Dave arrived in his pickup and got out to see how we were doing. A deputy then called for an ambulance and the coroner. When Dave came over to us, he asked, "I am now." "Regards, Bev." She saved my life. The paramedics were taking care of Marie and Lucy by the time an ambulance arrived. The sheriff took our statements and managed the rest of the operation. "She murdered Ronnie and Jake," Marie screamed. "Are you not going to take her into custody?" "Nope," the sheriff replied. "We have a castle doctrine here, and this is Dave's property." Miss Brolin had every right to stand up for Mr. Shipman's life. Think yourself fortunate that she did not kill you too. After the officers collected the evidence and removed the bodies, I watched them handcuff and release Lucy. The sheriff told me he would charge her and Marie with attempted murder and conspiracy to commit murder. I returned to the house on Beverly's four-wheeler. I thought you had class today. What happened? After Dave informed me of what had occurred, I left McDonald's and made my way home. I had to make sure you were okay. I noticed tire tracks in the grass and followed them down to where you were. So, I got into a deer stand that I had set up, and you know the rest. When I saw what Jake was about to do, I just acted. I'll catch up on class, don't fret. I'm not scared, I'm thankful so much. I picked up the phone to tell Linda what went down. She was glad to know I was fine. After all that, we've got them trapped now. Don't worry, the firm's going to crash hard. I sure hope it does. Then I rang my folks to fill them in. They, too, were happy to hear we came out okay. That night, I couldn't thank Beverly enough for saving me. Marie got better from her hurts, and she and Lucy went to court for trying to kill and planning to kill. They were found guilty for what they did when they attacked me and kept me locked up. Both got life in jail and were hit with more charges for plotting and wrong business by the firm. I only saw them twice in all this time, once when Bev and I had to speak in court and again when they got their punishment. Both times they looked awful, and I couldn't help but grin. The end of it was they would never be free again, and that made me very happy. Meanwhile, Beatrice got the divorce done quick, and because of Lucy's wrongs, got the judge to leave her with nothing. She also won a big money deal from Marie and Jake's stuff. By the end, I was sitting on a pile of cash. Sure, Bernie got a piece, but I was more than pleased with what I got. The firm also paid a huge sum because the partners were fighting a lot of big charges like criminal business work and being linked to the death of two men. When all was settled, the firm had to shut down, and the partners ended up in jail for life. This all happened in about 6 months. When it was all wrapped up, I had plenty for Beverly and me for a long while. I got a pretty ring and asked her the big question properly. One day she yelled with joy and covered me in kisses. About a month later, we got hitched and spent a week in Las Vegas. Back home, we sat Dave down in the living room and pitched our idea. His eyes popped when we brought up starting DNS welding and custom work for real. He asked, "Yep. You know, this might just work," I said, pointing to Beverly's business plan that she had created. "Oh, I forgot," he replied, reaching into his pocket to retrieve some keys, which he then handed to us. "Have you seen that lot on the south side? Well, what say you? Have you seen the new house there?" He looked at me and said, "Nope, that's your gift from me and your folks. It's all new with cool stuff." "Yeah, we thought you sold that lot," he inquired. "You own the house and the lot." "Oh, and I moved your stuff in with your dad, but we didn't include anything that had Lucy's face on it." Wow, I don't know what to say. Although I could have preferred a larger, more opulent home, this one would do. Sturdy like a typical home. I was not going to say no to it. I was aware that it was worth more than $15,000. "Just say thanks, buddy," he said, holding out his hand, which I accepted with a smile and a firm hug. "You'll be okay with us there. It seems that Lucy and Marie's world just got bigger." "I wouldn't want you lonely," Beverly asked. "I'll be fine," he said, "plus I need some quiet sleep, tired of hearing you two all night." We laughed at that, and I called my parents to thank them too. That night, Beverly and I made the master bedroom ours. Yes, lying there, I knew things would go well. Having money means a lot of friends, and these friends have other friends, even those who are in jail. Lucy and Marie weren't having fun in jail. They had to clean with their toothbrushes and do things for other convicts who they liked. Greetings. If you think these materials are useful, please feel free to forward them to your friends and family. Moreover, as is customary, since YouTube favors videos with a high number of likes, if you appreciate this video, kindly click the like button to aid in the growth of our podcast. You might also think about subscribing to the channel in order to be notified by YouTube whenever I post new content. I appreciate your support and wish you a happy day.